No, that's the point. So we have a lot of heavy lifting to do as we in this space, we that cover sports, we that are stakeholders in making sure that our societies, our countries, our continent understands the value of sports and what it means for our economy and socio-economic ecosystem as a whole. It transforms lives. Sports transforms lives, and it does a lot to a point where it lifts people in marginalized, and when we talk about marginalized, we're talking about people in abject poverty, in situations where they don't have, there's no chance at an opportunity to become something or do anything with their lives. So a marginalized society is one where, especially we'll talk with sports. Sports is definitely one of the key things that we need to push and emphasize as much as possible, because it's one of the easiest things for people to get into. There's no heavy economic overhead. So what we're trying to do in the sports space, in the sports media space, is to try to tell these stories, not just the stories, but to try to emphasize to the rest of society the value of what it means that it's not just a pastime. It's not just a pastime. It is a valuable aspect of life, not only because of the value of the monetary value, the financial aspect of it, but also the health and wellness of a people, as well as there's a lot to it. There's a lot to it. So we have a story a story to tell. We have a work to have. Yeah, we're here. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you, and I think you're just mentioning very important things that we have to know, that as sports journalists, our role is not just we don't just have to criticize or find fault with everything, but rather it is very important for us to also play an advisory role.
Yes.
By doing research in sports-related matters, and in order to help our countries develop or put in place structures to facilitate excellence. Let me take, for example, Sierra Leone. Recently they relaunched the Premier League after so many years.
Yes.
And then we got to witness the hunger that people had, and then it is like every role of local sports journalists here in Sierra Leone and international to advise, to make sure that football is not only here to go again,
right,
or rather as a very short-term thing. So our role now is to take an advisory role and make sure that the structures that are put in place are going to help to develop even at grassroots level, so that we reach a common goal.
Gotcha. Wonderful. Thank you for that, Mr. Bedlila. Yes.
Yes, but there is a struggle with, as enthusiastic as you can be as a sports journalist, there's a struggle where there is no actual structure for you to play an advisory role, which is the struggle, which has been the reason for some journalists, they just attach themselves to one sport or to one athlete and make sure that all I do is promote this athlete because I have a personal interest. The government, who unfortunately still run a lot of sporting programs in Africa, give room for actual effectiveness and, give room to the journalists for this advisory role, then maybe I can keep working, because in a societal like mine, where you're scared of criticizing or actually, let me about actually incident, so that you don't get blacklisted as a journalist. That empowers your ability to do your job. So that's part of the struggle, because as much as I want to be nice, I want to, pull the positive. Sometimes the negative is what hampers the growth of us as journalists in the continent.
Yeah, that is a salient point, very important point, because you know why. Miss Beatrice, I'll come to you shortly, okay? One of the things I see that I've noticed when we take up journalism in Africa is we tend to kind of tailor it along the lines of what happens in the Western world. Okay. Yeah, journalism is journalism. Yes, reporting is reporting. But we have to understand that there's a dynamics in Africa. There's a different dynamics in what our societies are made up of, how different we are as a people, and how we can tailor. Because our society is not a new society. It's not a homogeneous society. We're diverse. We come from different tribes. We come from different backgrounds. We deal with issues that the Western world doesn't have to deal with, or they've dealt with it before. They've gone way past that time. We are at the development stage. Most of our countries just had independence 50, 60 years ago. And so we are really at the level where, if I understand right what you were saying, we are at the point where we have to do the heavy lifting to try to sanitize journalism, sports journalism for that matter, and not just focus on negative stuff, the tabloid style journalism, and try to, even if we're going to hold people to task and hold them responsible, we have to find a medium at which we do it to where we're able to put them in, help them get better, in a sense. Recently, I decided to change the mode of my media company in terms of the focus that we had before. Because in the past, we had people who were reporting and we report the negative, talk about, why can't we do this and why can't we? Then eventually we found out that across Africa, most of what we have is administrators and people who love sports. They want to be in sports, but do not really deeply understand the dynamics of what it takes to be an administrator. So instead of knocking them down, we want to help to build them up. We want to help them grow. We want to help educate them through our public media space, which is what we put out in African Sports Monthly. So this is what we face going forward. Beatrice, you've heard the other two ladies, Miss Bedlil and Mrs. Jenny.
Yes, I agree with my sister who talked about the advisory role. There's no space for advisory role, and it's true. This is the nature of sports in Africa. Recognizing it as a field of work is something that many people are still not accustomed to. And one of the reasons is that domestic athletes are not being paid well. Inappropriate or inexistent facilities for leisure currently unavailable in Africa. No corporate sponsorship, and yes, it's our duty to beat the drum so that the sport becomes attractive to attract corporate sponsorship. But there's no room for that. You don't have opportunity to play an advisory role, like she said. So
okay.
It's a dicey situation. I don't even know how to go about it. I don't even know how to talk about this thing. But we still have a role to play, whether there's a room for it or not. We still have a role to play as sports journalists. We find ourselves most of the time criticizing instead of projecting positively the activities of the federation, the various federations, of the various sporting disciplines in our country. So we still have a role to play, irrespective of the fact that there are no rooms for advisory roles to be played. We still have something to do, I think. Okay,
now let me say something. On the issue of advisory role, and I'm going to say this, and I want us all to understand this, and I'm coming from years of experience doing this now, and basically the advisory role, if I could understand well that we want to play, we want to infuse into society, into the sports sector. I think we already have the mandate to do that. That's my opinion. I think we already have the mandate to do that because we already have the pen to write. In other words, we have the keyboard to write. So the columns that we put out, the articles that we put out, is the advisory segment that we are looking for to play. So we think most of the times people don't read this stuff, but they do read this stuff. The administrator will sit in his office and pick up a newspaper or go to a website and see an article about how to become a better administrator, how to become a better manager, how to manage people better in the sports sector, how to manage funds and things like that. That is the advisory role. I think most times when we talk about the concept of an advisory role, if I could say this, I think we kind of put ourselves in a box to think we need maybe a formal organization or something formal to have the impact that we need to have. But I think we already have that mandate to do that. That's what I think it is. But you guys may have a different view to that. So you guys are open to responding to what I just said.
Okay, for me, I think it is very, very important as sports journalists to facilitate a conducive environment. And just like you mentioned, Mr. Leslie, with a pen, a journalist becomes very powerful. So the advisory role will be very easy to play when you are writing for growth and development. So you are not writing favoring anyone. You are not even writing to destroy, but rather to construct. Mm-hmm. So for me, I think it is very clear that we as sports journalists, it is our responsibility to make sure that we nurture development, talent, and growth of sports in our different countries.
Absolutely. Miss Beatrice, what's your take on it?
Hello?
Yeah, what's your take on it? Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Like you said, we have to do more of lecturing than criticizing. We have to write more stories that build, that protect the positive activities of the various sporting disciplines, rather than, always being on their case and always trying to teach them what to do or how to do it, how to go about their activities. I think he has a point there, and I agree.
Okay. All right. So going forward, the articles and the content that we put out has to be more focused on helping our administrators succeed, our athletes succeed, people who work in the sports sector succeed, because more or less we have to give them the information, the tools that they need to succeed. Because like I say, a lot of times people come into the sports space, they're excited, they want to be part of it, but they really don't understand that it's actually a business, that it's a business that needs managerial skills. Most of them come in and they find out that it's a heavy load to lift. And then they sit back and become perplexed. Now, instead of exiting the stage, what they do is they try to hang on because they know there's a little bit of money coming in here and there. But they're also not willing to find the means to educate themselves. But being that they don't have their wherewithal, it's also our job, our responsibility in the media space to help give them some of that information, help trigger them to say, you know what, I need to go get a diploma or something in this business to help me become better at what I do. So this is what the dilemma is in terms of Africa as a continent trying to embrace sports. Because one thing, and I had this conversation some time back with one of my shows with one of the guys I consider a thought leader in this business, Mr. Ndluwana from South Africa. He made mention of the fact that I don't think any country in Africa has a sports vision document. We don't think a sports vision document, meaning a document that outlines what they want to achieve in the sports sector 5 years, 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, 50 years down the line, what we want to do, what each country wants to do, a sports vision that maps out or charts the way forward on how to achieve prominence in sport and development and for sports to become an economic engine for that society. We don't think any country in Africa has that. So there we go. That's a major issue by itself. So there's no guidance, there's no structure, there's no system in place. So people just see sports, they see their kids go out and play sports and they excel. The few ones that make it to the top, they see them and they admire them, they talk about the monies they make, but there is no system to guide the sector to become a productive and important sector in society. That is our job. That is our job, to bring that to their notice, to bring it to their yes. So we have a lot of heavy lifting to do. The other day, a gentleman was talking about some of the journalists They're calling. Well, I'm not going to try to be negative here, but there are some journalists who basically thrive on reporting European